Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Game Over Winnipeg. My name is Brady. I'm joined here by my co-host Lyss. And the Jets have officially, well, I don't know why I said officially, have won 5-2 against the Ducks. We'll dive into that. After the first period, I wasn't too sure how the game was going to go. But hey, do you think you know which way it's going to go? Make your bet with sportsinteraction.com. Whether it's sports or whether it's World Cup, hockey, football, or basketball, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pregame, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all the sports betting has to offer. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus, please play responsibly. All right, let's delve in. Jets win 5-2. At the start of the game, I was pretty frustrated with the first period, I'll be honest with you. We'll delve into the rest of the game. The Jets ended up coming back to win after going down 2-0. They get 5 straight against the Ducks. And yeah, of course, like I said before, I'm joined here by Lyss. Lyss, what was your general take on the game? How did you feel watching this one, and take us through the emotions going through the game from the start to the end? What were you feeling on the Jets today?
Well, I think it nailed it on the frustration part, right? Because the thing is, when you start out that way, no matter how it ends, you're frustrated. The Jets ended up winning, scored a couple of nice goals to put them on top there, but you're still frustrated because it's like, that they're able to do that. That they're able to capitalize on bad teams. They should be able to. Why can't they do that from the beginning? Darren in the chat says it's a W, but why the consistent slow starts? And I absolutely agree. Like, if you can't play a solid 60 minutes ever, like, what is going on? Like, I think even in a lot of the other wins that we've seen, it's been a really frustrating slow start. And, you have all these notes, like, they're really not catering to us, Brady, when we have all our notes about what we want to talk about from the game. And by the end, it's like, I feel like I should be throwing half of this out the window because they won and they whatever. But a lot of things to be frustrated about. Brady and I were chatting earlier on in the game, and Brady made some good points about some of the things that we thought the Jets are really struggling with, and they seemed to pick them up a little bit, which ended up, coming out with the win. So I think that some of those are some good points that we'll touch on, the different kinds of scoring chances that they weren't able to, create for themselves, and the special teams and all those kinds of things.
For sure, yeah. Coming into this game after last game, which was a travesty, a train wreck. I had a show the other day. I was by myself. Was a tough show to do because other than just I was saying to Lyss, the worst feeling you can have towards your team is apathy and frustration together, because again, you just sit there and you're frustrated, but you don't really have like the fire inside of you to articulate what it is. You're just feeling bored and upset. So coming into this game, there were a couple things I had written down right at the start that I was like, okay, these are the things that the Jets need to focus on and improve on this game, which was really important to me. The first things was in zone defense, the defense off the rush, and they need to create more offense in the slot. Like they've been relying far too much on their shots from the perimeter, shots from the D-men, shots from Scheifele taking a one-timer from the top of the circle against the boards, pretty much. And I thought that other than the first period, I thought that they actually did a lot better when it came to, especially on the rush chances. Like I after the first period, there was nothing at all as far as rush chances. And then as well as in front of the net, I think that, other than on the first goal against, which was, on the power play, it's kind of tough to really to really, get mad at a guy for losing his man on the power play, but at the same time, it's a defenseman who's in front. I think it was Dylan DeMello as well as Brendan Dillon. Both Dillons were on the ice for this one, and no one just picks up the guy in front. So that was my biggest frustration with the first goal. But after the first period, like, it seemed like the Jets kind of keyed in. And if you're looking over at the the money puck expected goals chart to see when did the Jets really turn it on, it's also based on feeling and watching the game. You could really tell that after that first goal in the middle of the second period, the Jets turned it on. Like that's when the seismic shift of this game. Prior to that, I was sitting there very upset. I'll get through these emotions real quickly because I think we want to dwell on the fact that the Jets won. But my biggest issue was you start slow against the 32nd best team, the last place team in the league, who's on a back-to-back, and they look like they have more energy than you. Like, that is something that Rick Bowness needs to absolutely, push down on and absolutely, hammer into these guys that they cannot be doing that. If this was against any other team than the Ducks, they could have got buried in the first period, and then it's a goner from there. But where would you say, Lyss, because I'm rambling, going on and on here. Where would you say the turning point was for the Jets, and what were the keys did you find to the Jets turning it back on?
Yeah, listen, while I agree with that, I think that honestly, okay, that first goal, that was the Menelainen goal, correct?
That the Jets scored? Yeah, that was the Menelainen goal where what happened? Yes. I need to bring up my notes here. I can't remember exactly what happened, but it
was just like a bang in front. I believe.
Oh, that was the one where Schmidt just kind of threw it in front and he got sick on it. But hey, looking at that, that's a play in the middle of the ice in the slot where you got to create chance. Anyway, sorry, continue. Go off.
We're saying no. To me, the biggest momentum shift was after Dylan Samberg scores his first career NHL goal. I think that was really where they put the foot down a little bit and decided, okay, we're going to win this game. Dylan Samberg, obviously, I am not a huge fan of picking out individual isolated plays and making an assessment on a player based on that, whether it's a good or bad thing. There are some people that's why I think a lot of people evaluate goalies poorly, because so many of the things that they do are very flashy. So it's if they make a huge mistake, people just automatically assume they're bad, and vice versa. They make a flashy Andre Pavlik save, they think that they're really good, even though they're just out of position. We've been over that kind of stuff. But Dylan Samberg, of course, that little biff at the blue line was the entire reason that second goal went in, right? So, and that's tough on someone. That's hard. So I didn't think that he was having the greatest game even before that. But he's had some rough injury luck. He's had some, yo-yoing with the AHL and the NHL and all that kind of stuff. And he's really got his spot now. So happy for him to get that goal in, right? And I think, Mikey Esimon in particular was happier for that goal than Dylan Samberg was himself, right? Like, the team was fired up. And I think after that, they just decided this is a game that they needed to win. Don't know why they couldn't have decided that at, the puck drop from the first period, but whatever, a win's a win, and I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it. That's a really good. I'm glad you pointed out the biff on the first goal, because that's one where that's just a player. He gets the puck on the line and he starts skating backwards to try and open up. Maybe a slot, get a lane for a shot, and the puck just kind of floats away from him. And mistakes happen, and then that in a game like this, that's all a team like the Ducks needs to pounce on your mistake. But I got to give credit to both Dylan Samberg and as well as Rick Bowness for giving Dylan Samberg the opportunity to continue playing. He didn't really bench him after that. He didn't give him any tough love. He didn't sit him down and go you can't be doing that. He had confidence in him, which is really important. From we've been sitting here for how long debating that sixth defenseman slot on the Jets, and it's very good to see a lot of it's very good to see a lot of confidence coming from him, and continuing through the game. I thought he played fantastic after that. After that one mistake, he kept playing well, kept getting a lot of shots on the on the net. Sorry, I'm laughing at the guy in chat saying I got no mic issues today. Hopefully it should be good. Listen, I hopped on early to make sure that that it wasn't happening anymore, so we should be good, hopefully, but it is what it is. Yeah, and so looking at this game again, we got to kind of look at the changes that the Jets made. Of course, Jansen Harkins gets pulled out of the game. He had a pretty rough game against the Blue Jackets, as well as a really, really dumb penalty at the end of the game, just cross-checking a guy for absolutely no reason. And then, Janssen Fjallby comes in, steps into the lineup, as well as, the other thing to mention too, we have, Sam Gagne's in the lineup again. He played on the second line for the first half of the game. I'm throwing too many things at you. We'll just start with Janssen Fjallby. What did you think of his game, and also what do you kind of think of his place on the roster? Should he be an everyday player? Do you think he should be moving up? What's your thoughts on AJF?
Again, I feel like I'm just such a broken record when I say things because I really struggle with evaluating players just on a single game sample. And he was in the fourth line tonight, so he probably played what, like 12 minutes at the very most, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So happy to see him back in because I do think that he has a little bit more upside than some other guys, like, the Dominic Tony Nadas of the world. And honestly, probably Jansen Harkins too. I'm still not fully on the Jansen Harkins train yet. I don't know. That being said, playing on the fourth line tonight, that's definitely more where he belongs. Brady and I were chatting a little bit before the game, and I think Brady, came up with the best way to describe him, which is all gas, no breaks, right? Like, there's not a lot of finishing talent there. There's not a lot of offensive generation there, but the energy is there. He's a big energy player, and I don't mind having that in your bottom six just to create a little bit more because, especially if you were to go more into like a playoff type style of hockey, like you need all four lines to be running and you need energy guys on that in that bottom six to be able to continually run and put some pressure on the other team. So I didn't see like not much to write home about from the game in my opinion on AJF's part, but I don't mind him in the lineup, and I think that he's probably just guy to me at this point, and he kind of always has been. Again, a guy who's put on waivers at the beginning of the season isn't going to become your team's hero. Like some people were like, "Oh yeah, he's on the first line." That wasn't going to stick. We know that. But I thought he was mid. I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree, and I knew throwing that over to you was kind of a softball or like just kind of like a I don't know, say whatever you want about the guy. I'm glad you kind of brought up what I was saying, but I think that he's a player I personally would prefer to have in the lineup most games. But again, at the top end, I don't want him on the third line. Don't want him on the second. Don't want him on the first. I think he's almost an ideal fourth line guy who will go out there, will as you said, as I said, all gas, no breaks. And I think there is a lot of value there. We always, as people who are more analytically inclined, you and I, we do kind of brush over some of the issues in regards to, or we do brush over some of the intangibles kind of thing. But I think there is a great value in having a guy like Janssen Fjallby on your fourth line, who, when he gets on the ice, he makes the most of his opportunity and goes all out. And I think that is something that does have an effect on the rest of the bench. I think the rest of the bench looks at a guy like him and goes, okay, one, this guy's busting his ass. So either if you're a guy who's on the fringe of, a guy who's trying to make his mark on the second line with Dubois and Kyle Connor, you're looking at a guy like that who's going, okay, Janssen Fjallby is putting everything, his ass into, like he's going all out right now. And if I don't do the same thing, this guy could be replacing me. I like having the internal competition. And I think that a guy like Janssen Fjallby pushes the rest of the team to be better. And again, he's an energy guy. And I think that rubs off on other players. And again, all the while saying this, I think he is an effective fourth line player, because obviously you can't just float on the intangible side of things. I think that he's a good PKer. Again, same thing. I can't really comment too much on this game in specific, but I think that he's been, a welcome addition to the lineup. I want to move over now to Sam Gagner, who started the game off on the second line with Dubois and PLD, or no. That's the same player, with Dubois and Connor. And then, of course, he gets taken off that line and Mikey Eyssimont gets pumped up. Personally, I am not the biggest fan of Sam Gagner in that top six. I thought that he looked really off today. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for last game, because he kind of was first game after being scratched for a couple. You got to shake the rust off a little bit here and there. But at the same time, today he looked brutal on that line. Like there were many times where you could see PLD and Kyle Connor had this kind of chemistry flowing between the two of them, and Kyle Connor would get into open ice, get a nice pass from PLD, and then he'd put it over to where he would expect a player, like Morgan Barron was. Not saying that Morgan Barron's the answer on that line, but anyone else on that line would be busting their ass to the open space, and he puts it into that open space, and then Sam Gagner is nowhere to be found. He's just a step behind. What did you think of both Sam Gagner's game as well as Mikey Eyssimont, and again, his kind of spot in the lineup? And what did you see from him after he got moved up onto the second line? Take it wherever you want. Start with Gagner, start with Eyssimont. That's all you. Dealer's choice.
Yeah, well, I think that, this question being so multifaceted just speaks to the line blender that was out today. I was kind of confused about it, especially earlier on in the game, but to the Jets credit there was a lot of 5-on-4 play happening. There was a lot of penalty killing, a lot of power play time, so they're moving a lot of guys around and whatnot. But it's just very clear that this team doesn't have a set way that they like their lineup yet. There's been so much shuffling around beyond the like Shifley Perfetti pretty much like, and even still like there's been a lot of movement around in these last few games in particular. So Sam Gagner, I fully agree. I think that he's not a fit up there. I do still think that there's a ton more potential there for some offensive bottom six upside than in someone like Jansen Harkins, and even someone like Saku Menelainen, even though he's been on some random goal tearing or goal scoring tear right now. But I don't think he's in his groove right now. I think that he started off the season okay. But I didn't like a lot of his game tonight. I think it made more sense to drop him down. But again, Mikey Esamon is not a long-term solution in the top six. That being said, I think he's a long-term solution in the Jets top 12 there. I think he's, solidified a spot for himself because
Mhm.
he's been fantastic and nothing short of what we needed from him since he's been brought up. But I think that, you know, the Morgan Barron top six tryout was one that made more sense than some of the others, but I much prefer him with Adam Lowry. We talked a little bit about that pregame. I think that that's a fantastic pairing. And if,
Mhm.
when Ehlers can come back from injury, if you slot Blake Wheeler or someone like that down in there, like that's a really fantastic top
Yeah.
nine that you're possibly able to run. So I don't know what the solution is. Many years we find ourselves, screaming at the Jets from our TVs and being like, please try this combination out. Like I know that obviously this isn't working and this pairing, this trialing group could be so good. And to Rick Bonus's credit, he's tried out a lot of different options this year. And I can't figure out a fit for someone like Sam Gagner yet. I don't know where he fits.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that he fits nicely on like a fourth line and maybe some power play time. I think one of the I like what you said about. I don't know if you mentioned this now or if it was pregame, but you mentioned something along the lines of it feels like almost the Jets don't exactly know what they're doing when it comes to that second line spot. I like giving Mike Eamont the bump up because again he has been playing well and he's deserved to be given that extra lineup spot and given a chance there. But I think that long term that just is not the solution, just like you said. And this brings me to, I think, the crux of kind of where everyone's at this season is, do you trade for someone else to help out, the middle six, like a right winger? Do you trade for them, now sooner than later? Do you wait out the Ehlers injury? Do you try to bank as much cap space as you can and then try to swing for the fences at the trade deadline and go get a guy like, I don't know, Timo Meier would be someone who I'm really interested in, although I haven't gone through the cap friendly trenches to see what that looks like next year when he gets his, $10.5 million or $10 million qualifying offer. Maybe a guy like Patrick Kane, although I'm not a huge fan of him personally, and I don't think that he's as good of a hockey player as he used to be, but he does have that superstar potential, and maybe, you put him on a new lineup and he looks better, or even just, the lower end stuff like Connor Garland. I wouldn't call this guy lower end, but Sam Reinhart would be a guy I'm looking at. In your opinion, do you think the Jets need to go out and make that trade? Do you think that that's something they should be looking at doing? Should Chevy be on the call on the phone within the next few weeks? Patting out the the details of a deal, or do you think that they should kind of wait, see what they have, let Ehlers come back from injury? Again, see what they can, blend around the top 12 and see, what they actually have. Where do you stand on that issue?
Yeah, I think, should Chevy be on the phones is almost a bit of a rhetorical question, right? Because if you're a GM of a hockey team, you should always be on the phones because unless you're 82-0, there's always something you can do better with your team. And I think that the Jets very clearly need to be looking at what it is that they need to be doing better with their team. And I think that there have been a lot of people that have talked about a lot of different options with trading defensemen because of how many the Jets have right now. And, you know, as much as it pains me to say it, like there are lots of teams out there that would be looking for a Ville Heinola or that would be, you know, looking for a Dylan Sandberg, Logan Stanley, like depending on what the Jets want. And this kind of goes back to my thing of what do they want to do? Because once they decide what they want to do, then you understand that all those players are expendable and you can move them around to make a better fit. I think the Jets should trade for a top six winger right now, just because I think with Nikolai Ehlers healthy, as Darren says in the chat, wait till he's 27 is healthy, and bring him back and then figure it out. I think that even when Nikolai Ehlers is healthy, the Jets only have 5 top 6 players right now. I don't think Blake Wheeler is a top 6 forward anymore for, you know, if this team is looking to go for it this year and make a push. I think that he's a short-term fix. You know, it's like if you need some energy on a shift and you need to try something out, like he's a viable option there. But I think that if the team actually wants to generate more with their top 6, they need someone else in there, because as good as they have been in spurts, I don't think that they've been good enough over the stretch to be a top line of a team that's going to go far in the playoffs. And I don't think that Connor Dubois and random guy in the lineup is enough either. So I think that even with Nikolai Ehlers being healthy, they need someone else, and you might as well bring him in now before the price gets jacked up at the trade deadline when everyone else is looking to make that move too. But that being said, what does it look like, right? And I think you mentioned a couple of really good players there. It would probably have to be a money in, money out kind of thing. And if that's the case, who are you moving around? They do have some decent prospects down there that they could package up and stuff, of course, but you got to make sure it works within the cap as always. So I don't know what it looks like. Sam Reinhart obviously would be a dream. Connor Garland with a change of scenery could be an interesting fit there too. It's all about the fit, right? But back to my original point, Chevy should absolutely be on the phones, and no player should be off the table if you're looking to make the most out of this team.
Absolutely. And I think you took it well there. I think that's kind of where I stand on it as well too. Because I think the reality is, as you said, there is only 5 guys in that top 6 who I'm like, they need to be top 6 players. And I think that, you know, if we're looking at this, the Jets are kind of in a 2-year window right now. They have this year and next when they have, you know, Connor Hellebuck, who they have to re-sign, which we're not going to talk about that because we don't want to be sad. They have Mark Scheifele, who needs to be re-upped. You know, Blake Wheeler will be coming off the books as well too, he's still, you know, an effective piece of this roster. But I think that if you're building a championship team with what you have here in Winnipeg, a championship team has Blake Wheeler on the third line. Like, that's just the reality of it. And I think you kind of meant you brought up the fact that I was saying before the show that I'm you know, really happy with how Morgan Barron has looked with Adam Lowry. I think that they complement each other really, really well. 2 big bodies who can go out there and kind of command play and try and feast on other teams' third and fourth lines. Just imagine a guy like Blake Wheeler on that line, like just Wheeler being able to come into the zone and just kind of put the puck in front of the net and have those 2 guys bang it home. Like that to me is a makeup of a line that should work, in my opinion. And then again, if you can afford to put, you know, somebody with, you know, I would love to see a Perfetti, Scheifele, Ehlers line when he gets healthy, and then, you know, Connor Dubois and someone else. You know, it is tough to kind of figure out, you know, who should be on that line. It's tough to really predict trades. And as you said, you know, any GM should always be on the phone. I wonder though if the prices, you know, maybe aren't. I don't know if the prices are going to be more expensive now or later, closer to the deadline, because obviously you have more teams trying to get, you know, the big fish. But at the same time, teams aren't always necessarily confident on whether or not they want to, you know, dish people off. But I feel like in this year where Connor Bedard is you know, the grand prize that all the bottom teams are looking for, and, you know, if not, they'll take Adam Fantilli, they'll take Matvei Michkov. They'll take consolation prize. There's a lot of consolation prizes here if you're a bad team this year. And so I think that, you know, you might be able to pry a Timo Meier from the Sharks, because, you know, in the grand scheme of things, the Sharks are not doing well, and they do not need to have a player like Timo Meier, a player like Erik Karlsson. Not that we should be trading for him. We have too many D already, but also Erik Karlsson. But also that would be kind of sick. But
Can you imagine how much that could change the scheme of some of the offense? Like we were talking before about how awful the Jets are at getting the proper, slot shots and high danger shots that aren't defenseman point shots or Mark Scheifele at the top of the circle shots. Can you imagine how dynamic our offense could be with Erik Karlsson? I'm sorry, but what an upgrade that would be on so many, like on everyone.
My only issue, though, is then you're going to end up having at least 2 defense on each power play, and Ville Heinola will never see the light of day, and he would probably be in that trade. I just want to remind you, Lyss, that if would you be willing to give up Ville Heinola for an Erik Karlsson deal? Not
yes. What? Yes.
See, the only reason I'm skeptical is, we have one season where Karlsson's back to being, Karlsson that he was past.
And you have an awful defenseman for $11 million.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
there's always that fear.
Exactly. When you could get a bargain bin version of him next year when Ville Heinola inevitably makes this team JK. That will never happen.
Who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? Not me.
Yeah. Darren C. Trade now is more expensive as games are prorated in terms of salary cap. Trades at deadlines are more affordable to the cap but cost you assets. I think that's kind of the thing. And so, but the Jets do have a decent amount of. Do they? I'm pretty sure the Jets have cap space, don't they? I think someone said earlier they've got
$2 million or so.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that allows you some space to bring guys on, but money has to go back and forth no matter what.
And is that including Nikolai Ehlers on LTIR or no?
I have no idea, and I cannot remember how LTIR affects banking cap space. I don't think that you can bank cap space from LTIR.
No one knows. We get into another time.
Sorry, I am not Brandon Pridham.
Where's Murat? I'll call him.
Yeah.
TBA, hello. Salary cap, hello. No, for real. But
okay, then I guess we can hop back into the game. We kind of mentioned him, and we kind of talked about that top line. I think that today, personally, I found that Perfetti didn't have his best game. I think that he still looked good, but I thought that line, until things started rolling after the second period, that both Wheeler and Perfetti looked a little slow today. I thought Scheifele had a good game. I think he was in pretty dangerous locations. So I will definitely give him credit for that. However, I don't think that Perfetti had the most fantastic game. I think that, the only reason I bring him up is because we've been so constantly talking about him. He's had a good game. He's had a bad game. He's had a good game. He's had a good game. He's had a good game. What did you see from both Wheeler and Perfetti on that top line there? If you're going to next game, would you be shaking that up? I think I remember you saying something along the lines of you're not sold on that line. No. So take it away. The floor is all yours. Top line thoughts.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit. So I think that I haven't been married to that line, and then they got better. And then they were not so good, and then they got better. Like, there's always that song and dance, but I think, if you look at the grand scheme of things, there's still obviously some room for improvement there. And I think this goes back to just kind of the general issue that we're seeing in the top 6, where they're just not generating enough. I don't feel like all 5 players are playing enough as a unit when they're out on the ice. Like, your top lines on a team that's in the top of their division should be, powerhousing and, taken over when they're on the ice. They should be creating a lot more than they're giving up. Teams should feel caved. That's just not what we're seeing from these teams. Like, plus minus is a dumb stat, but I love saying that and saying but when you look at previous games and like some of their top 6 players are sitting in like the -3s, -4s, and it's like they shouldn't even be playing that much time in their own defensive zone, and it's like I understand that that's always the case, that there will be times when they play in their defensive zone. Connor McDavid plays in his D zone, Cale Makar plays in his D zone. It happens, I get it, but I just feel like there's not nearly enough offensive prowess and enough pressure and enough dominance for me to justify leaving that top 6 as it is. And I thought that tonight in particular, I guess it's the afternoon still, but whatever. Wheeler and Perfetti, again, if one of them is not on, I feel like the other isn't on, because neither of them can carry that line on its own. Mark Scheifele is fine. Mark Scheifele's had a good season. He's good. He's whatever. But I think both of those players need to be good in order for the whole line to look good. The line looked bad tonight. Again, Wheeler looking a little bit slower. Perfetti just didn't seem to be his full self. Like, on that last goal there, that Scheifele scored, like Perfetti passed to Wheeler, who passed to Scheifele, who scored that beautiful shot. Hence, I ran upstairs and switched the jersey. I was like, you know what, Scheifele deserves the jersey on the wall for that one. But even still, like, the pass was calm and collected from Cole Perfetti because we know that he's able to do that. But just generally speaking, I didn't think that there was enough from them at 5-on-5 for me to, go crazy about it or anything like that. And I don't know what the solution is. And I don't think I've liked enough of what I've seen from them consistently over the last, I don't know how many games have been together, 6, 7. I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass here, but I haven't liked them enough for me to justify wanting to keep them together. I'm okay with shaking things up.
For sure. I think when it comes down to that line, like we saw a couple games ago, what was the game that Wheeler had his hat trick? Who were they playing again? It was anyways.
Colorado?
That was Colorado. Yeah, I think that was the Colorado. Yeah, it was the Colorado game. The way we saw them that game is what that line can do when they're on. But I think really much earlier in the year, they put that line out and it was brutal. Like, it was slow. It was really bad. They didn't come back to it for a long time. Finally, they put that line back together once they switched around, Connor on the lower lines, or not the lower lines, on PLD's line. But I think that my issue with that top line is either they are on and they are making crisp passes to each other. They are in each other's, constantly, reading the play. They all have kind of the vision of what the play should be doing. It's almost like someone's playing NHL, watching them from like a top-down view, who can kind of manage all of his players, and they play well together. But the issue is when you have games like tonight where, and especially the last game against the Blue Jackets, when the passes aren't connecting for those guys, that line is brutal. Like, they are not able to create anything. And so luckily, because I just don't think that, one of the issues that, the knocks against Perfetti is he's not the fastest skater. We all know that Mark Scheifele tries when he would like to, and Blake Wheeler is unfortunately old. Like, getting old so he can't be motoring every single game. Some games he absolutely has it and has fire in his step and is ready to go. But on the nights where that line is not clicking, it is bad. And you can have a top line. If you want to be a team that's top of the league, top of the Central, you can't have a line that one game is, fantastic, making crisp passes. They look like the Sedin twins out there. And then the next game, they look like they could be a third line who's getting, dominated by the opposing team's top competition. And
absolutely.
And so, and kind of just going back, I also wanted to even, note on the goal that Scheifele scored there. And just kind of talk about the Jets' play as it kind of evolved throughout the game. I think that goal was created just because if you look at the goals before then, other than the Sandberg goal, you look at the Menelainen goal, you look at the, who was it? The Barron goal, where they had a super nice passing play. You look at, I think that those was the main ones. Those are goals where they created opportunities in front, and they created them in the slot. And it just goes to show that on the Scheifele goal there, for example, that goal was created because the defenseman backed up and just went into the middle of the slot, because that's where they've been creating. Scheifele has a great shot, was able to put it home, and then of course Schmidt scores the final power play goal, and there we go. Jets win. All around, it was a pretty wishy-washy game. We got a little bit of the fun side of watching the Jets crash and burn. And then we got to see them, as they always say, you always have a game plan until you get punched in the face. Jets got punched in the face in the first period. And you know what? They staggered, they got back up, and they punched back. So I'm just going to throw it to you. We got to end it off here very soon. Do you have any final thoughts on the game, as well as kind of looking forward to the next game, which is on Tuesday against the Panthers? I'll be at the game, so Lyss will be hosting, and she'll have a guest with her as well. So yeah, what are you looking forward to next game, and also give your final thoughts on the game?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think it's the kind of thing that, these suggestions, these recommendations are not unique to the Winnipeg Jets as a hockey club, right? I think a lot of teams need to work on this type of thing, but the improvement off of the rush is something that's, super huge for this team. When they can't enter the zone properly, they can't enter the zone with confidence, with strong possession. They really struggle. And special teams, I think, both need to improve a little bit. I think near the end of the game, their penalty kill bailed them out a little bit, but I think, their power play, if they can't figure that out soon, that's going to cost them a lot of should be goals and therefore a lot of games, I think. So I think the quality of offensive chances just generally needs to improve in order for this team to win games a little bit more sustainably. They need to be better off the rush. They need to create more chances in tight in front of the net. You know that you have the players like Pierre-Luc Dubois who can score in those situations, but they just need more of those pucks in front. And that doesn't necessarily mean point shots from defensemen. So I think those would be two areas that I would focus on in particular. And I don't know what exactly that solution is, right? If the team knew they'd do it, right? That's always the catch-22 on those, is that you know what you need to do sometimes, but it's all a matter of the process of how you get there. So I think that just the quality of the high danger chances that they're able to create is so pivotal to this team's success going forward. And I also just think that they need to beat Paul Maurice going into the game.
Yeah, Paul Maurice returns to the building. Will he get a better salute tribute video than Patrick Laine did?
Yes. Oh, if I were to move to Toronto for a work term for 6 months and come back, I would get a better return video than Patrick Laine got. That was ridiculous. Anyways, we're not getting into that. Which also, I can't believe they didn't give him any attention on Friday. I was a little upset about that, but that's besides the point. But you know how Winnipeg fans feel about Paul Maurice. He's going to get a massive people. The players will cheer for him. I'm sure it'll be
we need a communal. Everyone does the salute at the same time for him. Maybe we'll get a new salute gif of him.
The white person mouth with the pursed lips and just so good. I miss that gif.
Oh man. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in. Please if while you're still here, please like the stream. It really helps us out with YouTube algorithm, post comments, this and that. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for commenting in the stream. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we also think that, we've kind of gotten the hang of this. We're a couple shows in, mics are better, streams are better, all this kind of stuff. So, but Brady and I are both admittedly still very new to this kind of thing. So, if you guys follow us on Twitter, if you know us, if you're in the stream, definitely let us know how we can improve, what you like, what you don't like from the show. We always appreciate the engagements in the comment section. We appreciate the streams afterwards on Spotify and whatnot. So definitely always appreciate the love, and we'd love to get better. So let us know how we can do that. And let us know if there's a guest you want us to get as well too, because we're always doing solo streams here and there. So we're always looking for new guests. Lyss will have one on Tuesday. It is Mike Gould, correct? Awesome. So Mike Gould will be joining Lyss on Tuesday. I shouldn't say that so quickly. I have him lined up sometime soon. I'm pretty sure it is on Tuesday. Anyways, regardless, thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. And check out, obviously follow us on Twitter at NHL Chunky, at Lyss Hood, and follow at SDPN Sports. Have yourselves a great day. Have a good week. Stay safe. Thank you all for tuning in.